Okay, here we go on to Unit 10, Legal Descriptions. This is just a summary of the chapter. We do need a legal description. We have three different types of legal descriptions that we use in Florida. Metes and bounds, which is used in the original 13 states and Texas, but we also use it in Florida. And it's used for unusual lots and shapes. And it uses monuments or benchmarks to mark the corners of the area. That's the sort of example there on the right. We also use the government survey system, which is used in all the other states, large rectangular areas, and the lot and block description, which we use for subdivisions. Here's a little map here showing that the only states that only use metes and bounds are the 13 original states and Texas. Texas used to belong to Mexico, used to belong to Spain, which is European, where the basic system came from. Everybody else in America uses the government survey system. They all use metes and bounds for smaller descriptions. Why do we need a legal description? It's achieved by having a survey. We need this so we know what to enter onto the deed and government records. Sometimes we need to find out the exact area of a land. And we need to establish or re-establish lost boundaries. It's used for subdividing land into smaller lots and also to check for encroachments. Let's just have a click here and we can see what an encroachment looks like. Oh, I beg your pardon, this is a legal description. And this is a legal description of a place up in Mica City. And don't worry about this so much, but this is the legal description. A surveyor can grab hold of this and know exactly how to put out the markers. Okay, let's carry on. Here's another example. I need to know what the legal description of this property is so I can define the boundaries, because here's an example of an encroachment that the property line we surveyed is here, and this person has actually built the garage over the property line. There's another one here which we will see in the class. Purpose of legal descriptions: used to describe a property in a way that uniquely identifies it from any other parcel. Have a look on page 233 and you will see what the survey looks like. I've just changed that to 227 for correction. Description by metes and bounds. Oldest type of description. Metes refers to distance, bounds refers to direction, and we always start off at a defined point of beginning. Here's an example. I'll go through this in class. I don't need to read it now, but the metes and bounds description has been around for a long time. Just remember, in a circle there are 360 degrees, and each degree is divided into 60 minutes, and each minute is divided into 60 seconds. Metes means distance, bounds means direction. So here's an example of a circle, a compass circle. We divide it into 4 quadrants, 90 degrees on each quadrant. If, for instance, we wanted to draw a boundary going to the northeast, we wouldn't say northeast, we would say I'm heading in a northerly direction tending towards the east by 45 degrees. We will give this a direction in the legal description as north 45 degrees east. And if I wanted to go the other way, then I will be heading south in a westerly direction, and it will be leaning 45 degrees to the west, and I would write it as that. Very, very straightforward and simple. If I wanted to find this particular odd-shaped parcel of land, I would start at a point of beginning, which will be defined some way. Then I would measure 30 degrees and then pace it out, or measure it 350 degrees, and do the same at each corner. Going very quickly, this is just a rough summary of what we're doing. And then when I get to the final one, I can do the circle and the angle, but I don't no need to. All I just have to say is back to the point of beginning. And then I would write the description something like this. From the point of beginning, head north 30 degrees east for 350 feet, and then north 67 west for 400 feet, thence south 35 degrees west for 450 feet, then back to point of beginning. That's how it is written on the legal description. That's metes and bounds. We're talking now by description by government survey, which is a government survey system, sometimes called the public land survey system. Came about just after independence, 1775. and based on the grid system used in Florida, but not in the original 13 states and Texas. And beginning reference is the intersection of the north-south line of a principal meridian and the east-west baseline based in Tallahassee. And we're just going to go on to the next bit. You can just see the states that actually use the government survey system. This is Florida, this is Tallahassee. We draw a vertical imaginary line through Tallahassee, and that's called a principal meridian. Baseline is a horizontal line through Tallahassee. If you want to see what it looks like, you can go to Tallahassee at that point and have a look at their little conference center there in Meridian Park, and you'll see they've actually got a little bit of a museum and so forth right there, and this is what we're looking at. Let's just go back to here, and this is where we are. This is the middle of Tallahassee. So the surveyors, when they drew this up, they said we're going to split Florida into 6 mile square boxes. So we're going to draw a parallel lines north and south, and we're going to call these range strips, and they run vertically, and we'll number them eastwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. They're 6 miles apart, and westwards. We do the same for the baseline. These are called township lines, and they're township strips. They're 6 miles wide strips of land. These are townships 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. This way we have divided the whole of Florida into 6 mile squares. These are called townships. Here's an example of a map, and this Tallahassee, and we're down here somewhere, and literally each one of these little strips is 6 miles. So we're back to where we were there. If we wanted to identify a township, township 2 south and range 2 east, what we'd have to do first of all is identify the township 2 south strip, and here it is down here. So we will be somewhere on this line, and then the range 2 east strip, which is this strip here, and therefore we have identified this particular 6 mile square as township 2 south, township 2 south and range 2 east. Let's make it a little bit bigger, and up we come. We divide this township, remember it's 6 miles by 6 miles, into 1 mile squares, and we number them just like this, 36, and we work this way. Remember exactly which this direction works. So top right hand corner to the bottom right hand corner. Each one of these is 1 mile by 1 mile. If you want an example of the Bradenton Township, this is where it is here, and this is what it looks like. This is 6 miles from here to here to here to here to here. A little bit rough, you can see the real lines there. I've just highlighted them in to make it easy to see. Back to our township box with the 36 sections. If we want to identify and zoom in on section 16, this is what it would look like. 1 mile by 1 mile. What we do first of all is we have to figure out how many acres in 1 mile by 1 mile. Well, to do that we need to know how many square feet are in it, and that means we need to know how many square feet are in a mile. You must remember 5280 feet in a mile. We also need to know how many square feet are in an acre, 43,560. So if I wanted to know how many acres were in this patch here, this 1 mile by 1 mile section, I would multiply 5280 by 5280. That'll give me the total square foot. And then I would divide it by 43,560, and that would give me 640 acres in a section. We then divide this into quadrants, and we call this the northwest quarter of the section, northeast, southwest, southeast. If we divide 4 into 640, then we'll know each one is 160 acres. Whenever we write down a legal description, we always use the section first, township and range. Just remember star, section, township and range. So how many acres in the northwest quarter of section 16 of township 2 south, range 2 east? Well, we've already said that. You get the 640. You always start with 640, divide it by 4, and therefore we got 160 acres. If we wanted to go further, I would then say, and here's an example of a homesteader given to an owner by the state in 1868. And you can see here the legal description of the southwest half of the northwest quarter and the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter and the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter. in section 26, excuse me, section 26 south and township 4 of range 5, sorry, section 26 in township 4 north of range 5 east and containing 160 acres. That's what we were given. Application number 1, 1868. If you want to see what it looks like on the ground in real life, this is a whole section here divided into 4, and each one has got 160 acres and a homestead on it. If we wanted to see now how much are in a quarter of a section, in other words the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, we divide it by 4 again. So 640 divided by 4 and divided by 4 will give us 40 acres, and we keep on doing that until we get down to whatever size we are talking about. Sometimes we do have a plot of land which is in more than one quadrant. In that case, we have to give it 3 little mini legal descriptions and add them together. So this one, for instance, is the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter. So we have that one there. And this is the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter. We have that one here. And we have the northern half of the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter. We have that here. We literally do 3 mini calculations, each one starting with 640. So in this particular case, we would have 40 acres, and 20 acres. So the total acreage of all of this lot here would be 100 acres. Very often, because the lines are parallel, that doesn't work very well on the curvature of the earth. So let's just zoom in. Here are 4 townships by 4 townships. We call this a checkbox. All of these lines are parallel, and that's fine for regular purposes. But then, because of the curvature of the earth, if we carry on those lines, you'll see that they are not all pointing north, simply because of the curvature of the earth. So we have to squiff them around a bit. And that's what we do. And we have to do the same around everywhere. So this is called a checkbox. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4 townships. Therefore, it's 24 times 24 miles square. Okay, that's a checkbox. We have a government lot. When we are surveying and there's a river or a stream cuts through a corner of one of the quarters, sometimes it's a bit hard to give a proper legal description. A government survey or the appraiser's office will come around and give it a unique government lot number. So this is called a government lot. We've got some practice questions here which I will go through in class or have been through. Then we come finally to subdivisions. Subdivisions by lot and block numbers, used only where plat maps have been recorded. Platted subdivision divided into large areas called blocks, and blocks subdivided into lots. Lots are numbered and blocks are either numbered or lettered. First of all, the engineer's plan and a surveyor from the owner developer for the land is put onto the map of the land. It provides for dedication of streets, parks and school sites, shows dimension of lots, streets, planned improvements, and recorded under the subdivision by book and page number. Here's an example out of the book of what we have as a typical lot and block plan. This will be submitted to the Planning Commission for approval before they start building it. You can see this is quite a small lot and it's divided into 2 blocks. It's quite a small plot divided into 2 blocks, and each block is divided into 4 lots. It shows the dimensions of the streets and then the setbacks and so forth. Also, here's a brief legal description. It's in section 29 of Township 21, range 30, in the northwest quarter. We don't actually go with the directions because we know what part of Florida we're talking about. And from this we get tax maps. Each parcel of land within a tax district is assessed for tax purposes. Each parcel is assigned a parcel ID number or an assessor's parcel number. And IDs are used to prepare tax maps, information used to prepare a tax roll so they know how much they're going to tax you, and also used to identify individual parcels. So every parcel of property in a county will have is a unique ID. And if we look at a typical tax bill, you'll see that property ID up there, and that uniquely identifies the property. We've got a few more questions which I will ask you in class, but other than that, that is the end of chapter 10. We'll go through it a little bit slower in class, or we have been through it. This is just a refresher Do lots of questions on it, and always remember to start off with 640, and remember there's 5,280 feet in a mile and 43,560 square feet in an acre, and you will be absolutely fine. Thank you very much.